we can say that love expresses in and through our higher self. It is our essence. So this map of self shows the relationship between the higher self, the child self, the lower self, and the mask. And you can imagine that if the higher self is pure and clear, but it is moving through a lot of childhood wounding that has not yet been seen or understood or integrated, and it's moving through a lower self which doesn't have self-awareness of itself and is busy protecting and defending, and then it has to get through an idealized version of who we think we are, you can imagine that it's hard to hear what it's communicating. This is why the journey of embracing the childhood wounding, doing the healing work of feeling and understanding what happened in our story and the many layers connected to this is so important. And doing the work of bringing the lower self into the light of awareness and becoming more conscious of how it moves, including it, not denying it, tending to purifying the energies that are caught in these patterns, we can imagine that as we do this work, we are clearing, and it creates more space for the higher self to be heard. This is why I say there is nothing to fix. You are not broken. The higher self is fully intact inside of you. Love is fully intact inside of you. And there is a healing journey, a clearing that allows you to remember who you are and experience more of yourself as love. As we approach this work, it's important that I remind us to do it with love. We can open ourselves to embrace these different aspects of ourself with love. It's very different than to open and embrace these parts than to hold them with judgment and to view them as bad or wrong. I want us to stretch beyond good and bad and hold the possibility that we have a lower self to help us to understand and connect and contact our higher self. We have a lower self to help us awaken to who we are as the higher self. The lower self has its place, it's included. The contrast provides a way to know ourselves as love. But if we get stuck into thinking that this is who we are, you can imagine the destruction we create. Let's just use Donald Trump as an example. I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but he is a perfect example of the lower self. He moves in a way that leaves a wake, a trail of confusion and destruction. In the way that he moves, we see greed. He leaves behind him a lot of fear and a lot of lies. These are all aspects of the lower self. He thinks he is his lower self. He's identified with it. He's identified with the pride, with the wrath, with the lust, with the fear, with the lies, with the greed, with the gluttony. But we can also remember that he has a higher self. He has love within him. And perhaps we can see him clearly for who he is and not lose our ability to love, to have the capacity to stretch, to have the capacity to include within us what is not love. Somehow, this is a part of our next step of evolution. Perfect practice.